Welcome everybody. I'm Andrea Miller and I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator here at Community Hospitals and Wellness Centers in Bryan. And I'd like to welcome you all to Live It Prepared. Today I have a very special sous chef with me. I have Cindy. Whoa, what happened to Cindy? Just kidding. This is the real Cindy Seaman. Hello. So Cindy brought a special friend with her today. Can you introduce your friend to us, Cindy?
This is Mr. Bones, and I use him in education. That's part of my job, being the nurse navigator for the orthopedics. And he comes along with me once in a while to the rooms, more when the patient has broken their hip or something, just so I can show where the fracture's at. So
you use Mr. Bones for education, and sometimes it's a Mrs. Bones, you said.
That's true.
Because you dress Mrs. Bones or Mr. Bones.
Depends on the outfit
Depending
I have
on
for
the
holiday.
Yes. So,
yes.
Well, thanks for bringing Mr. Bones today with you, and we'll get started on our recipes. So today, actually, we asked Cindy to be our sous chef today because this was kind of her idea for an episode. So being as it's the first episode of the new year, we decided to do some recipes that can help you be prepared throughout the week to make healthy choices. I think we all know that we make the worst choices when we're not prepared for the week, when we're getting home on Monday night and we're opening our refrigerator thinking, oh man, I really should have gone to the grocery. I have no idea what I'm going to eat. I have nothing, let's order pizza. So that's the way that it usually works out. So
I thought you were going to say peanut butter.
Oh, or peanut butter, yes. Peanut butter and I don't know, crackers or something like that, or cereal. Yeah, is that your go-to? Yes. I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make for dinner.
That's correct.
So Cindy's idea was, let's do some prepare ahead recipes that we can maybe pack in our lunches the next day. And they have to be hot because I don't want to eat cold food packed in my lunch. I'm sick of salads. I can figure out a salad on my own. I'm sick of soups, but something hot that I can pack in my lunch. So I decided on sheet pan meal prep ideas, and I have two different recipes for you, and I love them both. They're such great ideas, and they go together really quickly. We're going to get started on one right away because I'm actually going to have a little helper go stick it in the oven for me. So the first recipe we're doing is it's called shrimp and greens, and it features some beautiful kale. We've been having a farmer's market here at the hospital, and actually Matt Baker, who was our sous chef a couple months ago, has been coming in and selling his produce here at the hospital. And he's selling beautiful kale this time of year. So I thought I'd feature something that uses the ingredients or the produce that we have available to us. So we're going to start by taking our shrimp, and I can have Cindy help me with this. Actually, so we have kind of like smaller kale today. If it has a big tough stem, you can kind of tear the stem off, but I don't think we need to worry about it today. But I'll show you this one, there's kind of a little bit of a stem on it, and you can just grab onto that stem and then just pull that out. How'd you do with it over there? It takes a little practice, and actually if they're not that big of a stem, don't really worry about it. So we're just gonna try to make sure we're not getting too much of that woody stem in there. And you need quite a bit of kale for this recipe, roughly like 8 to 10 cups chopped. So that's roughly like one really big bunch of it. And this is pre-washed kale. They washed it for me in the kitchen, but obviously if it's not washed, you'll want to go ahead and rinse it off. So kale, I was thinking right before we started the episode, kale is one of the best sources of vitamin K. And vitamin K is good for your bones. So Cindy, you want all the people that you work with to eat lots of kale because
I will remember that.
Their bones strong.
We can do that at the ortho class.
There you go. So. Eat your kale. And again, if there's not many stems, don't really worry about tearing it out, and a little bit in there isn't a big deal. All right, packed all that. I'm just gonna take, and we're going to just give it a quick chop. It doesn't need to be super small for this recipe. Cindy's doing a great job over there. She's just a pro.
I was thinking I need a sharper knife.
She said this is her first time using a big knife like this. So far, Cindy, could you do this at home? Are these steps pretty simple enough for... You can buy pre-chopped kale, so that could save a step if you didn't want to chop it yourself. You could buy it pre-chopped and bagged, and sometimes they're pre-washed that way too. So then we're just going to take our sheet pan. We're going to toss that right on top.
Now, do we put any seasoning on top of this?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you set that over there. We're going to do a pepper on there too. And actually, if you want, I'll let you just sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper on there. So the first seasonings we're using are just salt and pepper. And then we will add some other flavors as we add the shrimp. So I'm taking a yellow pepper here, yellow sweet bell pepper, and I'm just going to chop that into chunks. We're using a lot of peppers today. Peppers are a great source of vitamin C, which helps with your immune system. So you don't get all the crud that can be going around this time of year. So I just have the pepper diced up, and I'm going to throw that right on top of there. And then we're going to add a little bit of oil. And I'm using a specific oil today. Raise your hand if you've heard of avocado oil. A couple people in the room. Raise your hand if you don't like avocados and you're worried about trying avocado oil because you think it's going to taste like avocados. All right, surprisingly, no. Okay, one person in the room. So actually, this does not taste like avocados at all. It's one of the more mild flavored oils. It doesn't really taste like anything, so very neutral flavored. The reason why I'm using it is because it has a really high smoke point. So I'm going to drizzle about 2 tablespoons of oil over this. I'll talk about smoke point a little bit more in a second. You don't have to be exact here. And then I'm going to do the messy part, and I'm just going to kind of toss this around. Kind of get it evenly coated with the oil and the salt and the pepper. And just kind of spread it all out. And then I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to cover it just slightly. I'm not really sure why you do that, actually, but it worked well, and it kind of helped with the browning. So now we're going to hand that off to our helper, and she's going to go stick that in the oven. You're supposed to do it for about 20 minutes. Bake it in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to add our protein. So we're going to start with we're going to use shrimp in this recipe. It's our shrimp and greens, and you'll notice these are not pink shrimp. These are like kind of that gray white color. That means they're raw. You want to start with raw shrimp. Otherwise, if you used already cooked shrimp, your shrimp are going to be way overdone by the time you're done with this recipe, and they're going to be tough and chewy and not very palatable. So we have our shrimp, and I'm going to let you stir.
Okay.
I'll just grab a spoon. And we're using a pre-made sauce today. We're using a red curry sauce, which you can find in the ethnic section of your grocery store. I was a little bit worried when I first saw this recipe because I didn't know what red curry sauce was, and I thought it'd be hard to find, but it actually wasn't. And it's kind of like a Thai flavoring. It has like coconut, lemongrass, some lemon, Thai basil. And it's kind of like a sweet and slightly spicy sauce, and it really makes the dish. I think it's really, really delicious. I tried it for the first time with this recipe, and I fell in love with it. And I've decided I don't like this sauce by itself. Like if I was gonna go to use this sauce like as a condiment to dip something in, I don't think I would like it. But in this recipe, it just ties all the flavors together, and it's really nice. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil to this, and you can add more or less of that curry sauce if you'd like. If you want a little bit more flavor, go ahead and add more. If you want less flavor, add less. We're also going to add some lime juice. And I'm rolling my lime to kind of release some juices and just slicing it in half. I actually think I'm going to grab a separate bowl here just to make sure I'm not getting any lime seeds. So there's really a lot of flavor in this dish. The tart and sweet lime mixed with like the spicy and sweet Thai red curry sauce. And then the kale and the salt and pepper, it just goes together. Somebody once wrote a comment and they asked me what my perfect meal would be. And I finally have an answer.
Okay.
This I could eat every single day of the year and not get tired of it. So it's amazing.
Well, then that'll be a good one for a lunch, because sometimes when you make something, you have so much, and so you're going to be eating it all week long. So
yeah, and honestly, I'm the only one in my house that can eat this because my husband is allergic to shrimp. So if I make it, I'm going to be eating it all, which I wouldn't mind because I'd eat it every day, like I said. So we have the juice of a lime. We probably did a little bit extra, but again, I like that tart lime flavor in this recipe. So we're going to set this aside for a little bit until our kale has started cooking, and we're going to get started on our next recipe. Okay, so our next recipe is a chicken fajita that's cooked on a sheet pan all together. So again, another really simple recipe, and the thing that I love about this one is there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. So everybody knows a traditional fajita inside the tortilla, but you could also do like a burrito bowl with rice or quinoa to serve it with. So it's something you could really do like every day of a week, but do something different with it. I even took the filling from this sheet pan mix and I made a quesadilla with my family. So I chopped everything up a little bit finer after it was cooked and put it on the inside of a tortilla with a sprinkle of cheese and made like a fajita quesadilla, just like you'd get at your favorite Mexican restaurant. So with this, again, we're actually gonna grab the big bowl over here. And we're going to use 3 bell peppers. I'm going to use a green and the yellow and the red. And I'll give you one, Cindy. And we're going to start to slice it up a little bit. So I like to just cut it in half. And then I cut the seeds out.
Sharper knife.
And then just cut it into strips, just like you would see in a fajita at your favorite Mexican restaurant. So we're really doing 2 different ethnicities here today. So really lots of different flavors. So you don't get bored. I love flavor. So we're slicing up our peppers. And again, you need 3 of them. It really doesn't matter what color. Green peppers are usually the least expensive pepper, so I always like to toss in 1 green pepper because sometimes the yellows and oranges can get a little bit more expensive. So I have my red. And again, just absolutely loaded here with vitamin C. I like to keep the micronutrients on some of the nutrition facts that you have in front of you. And you can see specifically with the kale recipe, it's just loaded with like every single micronutrient that there is. And then with the fajita recipe, it's really, really high in vitamin C. So a lot of people think just citrus is the only place you get vitamin C, but you actually get vitamin C from a lot of vegetables too, and peppers are one of my favorite places to get my vitamin C from. So getting that all sliced up. Cindy, if you want to dump that chicken in with the peppers, yep, we're just dumping it all together. So these are all kind of like dump and go recipes. So we're just stirring that all in. You can either use sliced chicken breast or you can use like the chicken tenders. I like using the chicken tenders because I don't like really touching raw chicken. So if I don't have to cut anything up, it makes it a little bit easier. So we have a green, a yellow, and a red, and I just like all that different color in there. And then we're going to use a red onion as well, but you don't have to use a red onion. You can really use any color of onion you want, but again, I just think it's so pretty to add that extra color in there because color equals nutrients. So this is one way that, one thing that I recommend to my clients to plan ahead is to come up with a couple recipes at the beginning of the week. Plan your grocery list and make sure you have everything all ready to go at home. What are some ways that you plan ahead, Cindy?
Well, I was just going to mention, you were talking about onions and peppers. I just found out that they have them in the freezer section.
Yeah.
And so that is really nice to have on hand, so you don't have to chop up a whole onion. Say you want to make an omelet or you want to make something short notice, you don't have to do the whole great big pepper or do the whole. So I really like that, and I bought mushrooms this time, so we'll see what those taste like.
I love frozen vegetables for convenience. There's a lot of different ones, especially the Green Giant brand. They have a lot of different like riced and spiralized vegetables out now, or those like recipe ready vegetables are a great option too. Just to sneak them in there, and you always have something then in the freezer that you can grab instead of having to plan ahead to have all that fresh produce on hand. But it's always a good idea, use your fresh produce first and then use your frozen stuff. In college you have experience living with all different people and personalities, and I lived with this one individual that would go out and buy all this fresh produce, and then she would have like macaroni and cheese for dinner from a box. And then like 2 weeks later, all the fresh produce would go in the trash can.
I'm guilty of that.
Because it never got used and it was rotten.
So that's what's nice about the frozen, because
it is.
You don't have that half a pepper in there or half an onion, because I'm the only one that eats that at home. So
yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you are going to invest in that fresh produce, make sure you're planning to use it within the next couple of days so that it doesn't go into the trash can, because that makes me so sad. So we're going to add some taco seasoning to this. And I have 4 tablespoons of taco seasoning here. And you can preferably go back and find the salt-free taco seasoning that we did in the very first episode of Live It and use that. And then if you do use the salt-free taco seasoning, go ahead and you can add a little bit of salt, because no salt in this recipe would, probably make a lot of people sad. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil. I don't remember exactly how much I'm supposed to add even. Somewhere around 2 tablespoons, a tablespoon and a half. So again, back to the avocado oil. I talked for a second about, I mentioned quickly the smoke point, but I didn't want to talk about it too much since we had to get our kale in the oven, which I'll have my helper maybe run and get real quick if you don't mind. And so smoke point, so avocado oil has one of the highest smoke points that there is. And smoke point is what it sounds like. It's when an oil gets too hot and it starts to smoke. And at that point where it starts to smoke, it actually starts to develop some toxic compounds. So it's not a good thing to have your oil smoking, basically. It's not good for our bodies. It can turn any healthy oil into an unhealthy oil. So avocado smoke point, this right on the package says 500, and I have seen some oils, or some references say that it goes up to 520. So nobody cooks up to 520 degrees very often, but it can take a lot of heat, about the highest amount of heat that any oil can take. So I love to use avocado oil for all of my higher temperature cooking purposes. So like in this recipe, we're turning on our oven to 425. Okay. So a lot of oils, only go up to 420 for a smoke point. Most olive oils only get up to 420. So, and canola oil I think is 420 as well. There's usually a lot of good charts that you can find to see the smoke points. Like an extra virgin olive oil, like a really high quality olive oil, is going to actually have a lower smoke point. So you want to use those for like your salads and things like that. You actually want to get like more of a less expensive or light olive oil if you do plan to use it in higher temperature cooking. But I always keep avocado oil on hand for those higher temperature purposes. So that's why I love avocado oil. Plus it's really, really mild. You're not going to add any flavor to your food using avocado oil. So we're going to go ahead and just dump all that right on here.
Got a hold of it?
I do, yeah. I know sometimes it's questionable. That'd be a funny scene on Live It, huh? It all goes flat on the floor.
5-second rule, right?
There you go. That would be awful, picking up raw chicken. Perfect. So I'm going to shake that out, and then this goes in a 425-degree oven until it's done, about 15, 20 minutes or so. If you have an instant read thermometer, that is of huge help to me. I always used to overcook my chicken, and now I don't because I have a thermometer that I put in my chicken, and when it reaches 160, it comes out of the oven. So it's done when it reaches 160. Okay. So
are we handing that to her? Oh, here she goes.
we can set it aside, or yes. I was saying we don't have a heat source today, so we don't have to worry about our about these hot pads, but I guess we do because we have hot kale. So I wanted you to see that we're not putting our shrimp on raw kale. We're putting it on cooked kale. So we have our shrimp over here that we set aside. And we're just going to kind of spoon our shrimp over the kale that's been, cooked a little bit. So this might not have been cooked exactly the length. Again, you want to cook the kale roughly 20 minutes, so we might not have exactly got to that, but...
Would 20 minutes get it to the crunchy stage?
Yeah, actually when I made it, it was a little bit crunchy when it came out at 20 minutes. So we're putting our... But you also want to make sure you don't overcook it because we need our shrimp to cook as well. So we're putting it back in the oven now. So I kind of just laid my shrimp out all over, and then you want to make sure you dump those juices right on top of the shrimp and the greens. So then this goes back in the oven, and the time is really going to depend on the type of shrimp or the size of the shrimp that you use. If you're using really big shrimp, it's going to take it longer to cook through. If you're using small shrimp, it's not going to take as long, which I'm looking and I'm seeing my shrimp. I have like some really big ones and some really small ones. So definitely you want to cook it until the really big ones are a pink color. We all know what cooked shrimp looks like if you eat shrimp cocktail. Like it has to be that color of pink. So roughly 8 to 12 minutes or until all the shrimp is pink and it's fairly firm to the touch, and then it's done. So again, then it goes back. So again, this goes back into the oven. We're going to pretend. So when both of these come out of the oven, here's what our shrimp looks like. So we have our shrimp and our greens. You can hold it if you want. So we served this over a bed of Cindy's least favorite food in the world, a bed of quinoa.
Yeah, she said, here's what we're going to make. And I said, I don't like quinoa.
You don't like
I don't
quinoa.
have to taste this, do I?
So you don't have to serve it with quinoa. This is just a suggestion. This is what I would serve it with because I obviously love quinoa. But you could also serve it with rice. Any type of rice would be fine, preferably a brown rice. Or like a...
Could you do a spiral zucchini? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yep. So yeah, get creative. Like the zoodles, like we did a couple episodes ago, would be an excellent choice. Or any type of noodle that you prefer. Or I even thought, try it in a wrap. I think that would be really good too. So lots of different options for this so that you're not eating the same thing every day. And then our chicken fajitas will look like this when they come out of the oven. And go ahead, I actually forgot almost with our we're not going to put it on there, but toppings for your shrimp and your greens. We have, I would dice up or chop up the cashews and put that on. And then some cilantro as well is a good addition to the shrimp and greens. But then with your fajitas, options for serving this, we already talked about lots of different options here. Serve it with a pico de gallo or a guacamole in tortillas, or again, do your burrito bowls. So lots of different ways to eat this recipe as well. So, Cindy, do you have any questions about these prep ahead, pack-friendly meals? Or any questions about any ingredients we used today?
Nope. I'm kind of excited about going home and trying it and bringing it to us.
Yeah, they're excellent recipes. Everybody in the audience like them? Any questions in the audience today? Warming up shrimp. Like just reheating it after, well, you want to obviously you have to make sure it's cooked through. Keep it covered. I would microwave it but other than that, it might get a little bit more chewy if it gets reheated, but yeah, just keep it covered and don't overheat it. Any other
Maybe
questions?
it tastes good cold.
It could. You could
I'm
try
a
it
cold eater. I don't warm up my leftovers.
And see, you're the one that told us, or maybe you weren't. Maybe
I'm
it
a
was
cold eater, so if it tastes good cold, I just...
Yeah, you could. You could do it cold. So, yeah. Obviously, I would, if you do it cold, you know, maybe not wait till like the 5th day to eat it cold. Maybe the day after would be okay, but the longer it sits in your refrigerator, the more likely it is to grow more bacteria. So if it's the 5th day, I'd probably heat it back up. So, any other questions? Thank you all for joining me today, and thank you, Cindy and Mr. Bones, for being my sous chefs today.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah,
Asking us.
Yes, absolutely. And hopefully everybody got some ideas to live it prepared.
Thank you.